lined up by Russia for major strikes. I tell you this because I cry tears of pity upon you all. How many years, my children, count back? How many years have I come to you as your mother and made known to you the plans of the enemy? And what have you done to help out your brothers and your sisters? Do you sit there smugly, confidential in your own arrogance, and say that this shall not happen to me, this is for someone else? I assure you, my children, this will happen to you, and it will not be the someone else, for it will be you.
September 7th, 1985, the words of Jesus.
For if you could only see with the eyes, your human eyes, which of course, my children, is not possible at this time, you will see what is going to happen to all of your relatives and neighbors and friends and others throughout the world as the plans continue in Russia to destroy the world. They shall never take over the world completely, but they will use the power of money and instruments of war to make the nations rise up against each other. This is happening slowly, but due to the state of man's souls upon earth, it will now accelerate very fast, my child and my children.
Throughout the 20th century, Russia has been the scourge of mankind, which was prophesied first at Fatima in 1917.
Many years ago, in Fatima, my child and my children, I gave a message to the children. Lucy still remains upon earth. She will be here but for a short while longer. Therefore, it is urgent that you help her now, for she also is as greatly concerned about what has been omitted as we are in heaven about it. When I came to Fatima many years ago, I knew that communism would go throughout the world, destroying many nations and attacking my son's church.
Communism has been the scourge of mankind since its violent inception by Lenin in 1917. Blessed Mother has appeared to many seers throughout history to try to stop the horrors of communism. Here now are the words of Jesus, March 26, 1983.
If you had accepted the message from heaven as given from my mother to many other seers in the world, you would not have reached this point in the history of your country. The world now is being prepared by the bear and will face a crucible of suffering.
Our Lady of Fatima is an approved apparition. Unfortunately, her message has not been heeded. Our Lady of the Roses at Bayside tells us, quote, "O my children, I warned you many years ago. I warned you at Fatima that unless you prayed and did penance, Russia and the agents of the sickle and hammer would go throughout the world, cutting down nations and bringing death, destruction, and slavery." Unquote. The words of Our Lady, June 18, 1987.
My child and my children, I do not have to go into a long discourse to tell you of the evils of communism. The world and its condition speaks for itself. My child, let the world know that Nicaragua is a center point for the capitulation of the United States of America and Canada. Already there are plans afoot and in the making with missiles and all dire instruments of destruction. These plans are being formulated from Nicaragua to go into Mexico and thereupon into the United States.
Communism has enslaved 56 countries since 1917 and 46 more after 1945. Communism is now in 1/3 of the world and rapidly spreading. And why? Our Lady tells us through her messages at Bayside. On October 2nd, 1987, Our Lady said,
Prayer prayer has not become a way of life for many. That is why communism has got such a foothold in your country and in other countries of the world. The prayers given to you in your childhood will be remembered. Always, I know, my children. But there are those who had not received these prayers in their schools, for prayer has been outlawed in many areas of your country and the world. The murders must be stopped in your country. That is another reason why communism is getting a foothold in your government and all the governments of the world, because they have given themselves over to sin, murders and butchery. Millions of babies had been aborted in the United States of America and Canada, and millions more throughout the world. This is murder, and no different than what the communists do to those who dissent from them.
Communists do not value or respect life. They violate human rights.
The words of Jesus, September 14th, 1985.
Since the world no longer considers the tiny little babies as being important to life, they no longer will consider the necessity to have the elderly and infirm among us. That is communism, my children. They will destroy the elderly, they will destroy the newborn, and they will destroy anyone who gets in their way. They have one object, that is to conquer the United States and all other nations until, like a fan, it will open up and will border upon all the nations of the world.
Our Lady looked into the dungeons of the communist organizations. October 2nd, 1987, Our Lady said,
"You do not know, my poor children, what our eyes have seen as we looked into the dungeons of the communist organizations. The beatings, the scaldings, the torturings. It is beyond all human reasoning that a human being could try to destroy the whole faith of the individual by beatings, by torturings, even by cutting out the tongues of those who had dared to speak against them. And who are these people, my children, who are doing these vile things? In those days when communism enters your country, it will be your own family and your neighbors. Yes, my child, I know you are shocked at this, but this is what is going to happen unless the bishops and Pope John Paul II listen to my plea. We have approached them many times. However, I do not understand their fear of Russia. There is nothing to fear but fear itself, for fear is a tool of the devil.
All prophecy is conditional upon man's response. If we follow the directions from heaven, Russia will be converted and the world will have peace. That was the message of Fatima from 1917, and today at Our Lady of the Roses, Mary Help of Mothers Shrine. On July 21st, 1985, Our Lady explains why Russia is allowed to be the scourge of mankind.
Because the message I gave many years ago to the little children and to those who had the heart to seek for the truth, I told them that unless they prayed the rosary and wore their round scapulars, death shall be a place among the living. Death such as no man could perceive in his human mind, to see the destruction of missiles and other contemptible technological implements made strictly from the knowledge of Satan.
In the year 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution imposed communism and enslaved Russia. Fearful expectation gripped mankind of the violent upheavals foreseen for the world and the Church, each a punishment indeed from the hand of God for the sins of humanity. In God's mercy, He sent His mother to offer peace and salvation to mankind through her Immaculate Heart. In 1917, at Fatima, Portugal, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared to three